Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The day had been building up to this moment for months, ever since Liam Spencer and Hope Logan agreed to give their love another try after the nightmare of his alleged terminal illness. The wedding setting was a sun-drenched garden at the Forrester estate, with flowers bursting in vivid cascades of white and pink, representing new beginnings. Guests packed the seats, family, friends, rivals turned allies, all there to witness what felt like a miracle. Liam had survived what everyone thought was certain death from an incurable brain tumor, a diagnosis that drew Hope back to his side and reminded her of the depth of their relationship. Steffy Forrester, his ex-wife and the mother of his daughter Kelly, had thrown aside old jealousies to support him, joining Hope in her fear of losing him forever. Liam stood at the altar, handsome in his fitted black tuxedo, his smile wide and genuine as he watched Hope arrive on the arm of her father, Deacon Sharp. She was stunning in a flowing silk and lace gown, her eyes fixed on him, full of the promise of forever this time. No more waffling, no more triangles separating them. The brain tumor scare, later revealed as a horrible fraud organized by Dr. Grace Buckingham, had removed any uncertainties. It prompted Liam to confront his mortality, make amends, and make an uncompromising choice for Hope. And now they were ready to exchange vows, rings to be put upon fingers. The officiant began the ceremony with a warm and steady voice as he spoke of love's endurance through adversity. Hope's voice wavered slightly as she read her vows, promising to stand by Liam in sickness and health, her words ringing true given what they'd been through. "You fought for your life, and by doing so, you fought for us," she continued, tears welling up in her eyes. "I never stopped loving you, Liam. Through every heartbreak, every mistake, my heart always came back to you." The guests murmured in agreement, Brooke Logan beaming with pride for her daughter, Ridge Forrester nodding approvingly beside Steffy, who held little Kelly's hand with a soft smile on her face despite the complicated history. Then was Liam's time. He grasped Hope's hands in his, gently gripping them, his voice firm at first. "Hope, you've been my light in the darkest times. When I thought I was losing everything, when that fake diagnosis made me believe my days were numbered, you reminded me what living really means. You, Beth, Kelly, our family. I promise to cherish you, to choose you every day no matter what." The crowd gasped as he spoke. Liam's father, Bill Spencer, sat in the front row, his customary swagger softened by emotion as he was proud of the man his son had become as a result of the experience. But as Liam got to the bit about growing old together, something changed. A faint dizziness set in, the kind he'd experienced prior to the initial fall that led to the mistake. He paused in mid-sentence, blinking hard and attempting to shake it off. Hope saw first, her brow furrowing with alarm. "Liam," she whispered. The guests leaned in slightly, sensing the hesitancy. Finn, sat next to Steffy, stood in his chair. Dr. John Finnegan, the man who discovered Grace's fraud, saved Liam's life by revealing that there was no true tumor, only faked scans and drug-induced symptoms. Liam mustered a smile and tried to continue. I promise." His words slurred slightly, and a piercing ache seared through his temple. The entire globe tilted. His knees weakened, and before anybody could react, he collapsed on the ground at the altar, his body lifeless among the fallen petals. The crowd let out a collective gasp. Hope sank to her knees beside him and cradled his head. "Liam! Oh God, Liam, wake up!" she exclaimed, her voice breaking into sobbing. Panic spreads like wildfire. Brooke dashed forward, Ridge following after, and Bill sprung from his seat, yelling orders for someone to get an ambulance. Steffy had already moved, bringing out her phone, but Finn was faster. As a doctor, he jumped into action, kneeling beside Liam to check his pulse and breathing. "He's conscious but unresponsive. Pulse is steady but weak," Finn said calmly but urgently. He gently tilted Liam's head, checking his eyes with a penlight he had taken from his pocket, always prepared. Kelly started crying, clinging to Steffy's knee, confused and afraid. "Daddy," the small girl whimpered. Hope carefully rocked Liam, tears flowing down her cheeks, makeup blurring as she urged him to open his eyes. The ambulance arrived quickly, and paramedics swarmed the scene, placing Liam onto a stretcher while the wedding guests stood astonished in silence. Hope insisted on traveling with him, holding his hand all the journey to the hospital and murmuring prayers and promises. Finn pushed strings at the ER to get Liam priority scans, including an MRI and a CT scan. He couldn't shake the dread. Grace's swindle had been unearthed months before, and Liam's recovery had been hailed as a miracle after the truth was revealed. But what if anything was missed? What if the drugs Grace used to mask the symptoms caused genuine damage over time? Worse, what if there was always an underlying issue? Hours passed in the waiting room, a tense vigil for family and friends. Hope walked, wringing her hands, while Steffi consoled Kelly and Finn's son, Hayes. Bill scolded himself again, muttering about how he had given Grace that $1 million for the bogus surgery without inquiry. Ridge and Brooke embraced each other and offered gentle comfort. Finn finally emerged from the exam room, his face serious, holding the scan results. Everyone turned to face him, and the room became silent. "It's a brain tumor," Finn remarked slowly, the words lingering in the air. "A real one this time. Small but aggressive, it's been growing slowly, possibly triggered or exacerbated by the trauma from the original fall and the medications Grace used. It's in a tricky spot, pressing on areas that could explain the dizziness and collapse." Hope opened her mouth and let out a sob. Steffi grasped for Finn's arm to support herself. Bill growled beneath his breath, fists clenched. "But how?" "We thought it was all a lie," Hope said, her voice breaking. Finn shakes his head. "Grace faked the severity before, manipulated images to show an inoperable mass that wasn't there, induced symptoms to sell the con. But this is new growth. Undetected because everyone assumed the cleared scans meant he was fine. It's shocking, but it's there. We need to operate soon or—" He trailed off without having to finish. The risk was high: memory loss, personality problems, and worse. In that instant, the joy of the wedding day was shattered into bits of fear once more. Liam, trying to regain consciousness in his hospital bed, got the news directly from Finn. His eyes met Hope's, full with both regret and determination. "We were supposed to be married by now," he said faintly, attempting a faint smile. Hope leaned in and kissed his forehead. "We will be. As soon as you're better. This doesn't change anything." But everyone knew it did. The swindle had caused a delay in legitimate therapy. Now time was of the essence. The surgery was set for the next morning. Finn commanded the squad with firm hands despite the emotional stakes. Liam was family in a complex way. Steffi waited eagerly, divided between her past love for Liam and her current relationship with Finn. Hope refused to leave the hospital, clutching the wedding ring she'd planned to give him that day. Bill mobilized resources, bringing in experts from all across the world. The Forrester and Logan clans came together again, as prayers and hopeful thoughts filled the chapel downstairs. As the hours in surgery passed, flashbacks flooded their minds. The initial collapse following Liam's fight with Bill, the devastating fake diagnosis, Steffi's unwavering support while concealing her own heartbreak, Hope's return when she discovered the truth, and the exposure of Grace's greed-driven lie, which nearly cost lives in more ways than one. Liam's redemption arc, making peace with everyone while he believed death was imminent, only to discover it was a hoax, and now confronting a serious threat. Finn eventually emerged, wiping his hands, tiredness on his face, but cautious optimism in his eyes. "The tumor's out." It was touch and go. There was more bleeding than expected, but we got it all. No signs of spread. Relief swept over the gathering like a wave. Hope fell into Brooke's arms, sobbing with excitement. Steffi hugged Finn firmly and whispered thanks. Bill expelled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Recovery would not be easy. Liam awoke sluggish, head bandaged, his memory unclear at first. "Did we get married?" he inquired hesitantly when Hope entered his chamber. She grinned through tears as she slipped the ring on his finger. "Not yet. But we will, properly this time." Days passed into weeks of rehab, migraines, and therapy sessions, and Liam struggled with the irony, a fake death sentence leading to a real one, narrowly averted. The experience reinforced ties. Steffi and Hope's truce developed into a true relationship, and they co-parented with ease. Finn won hero status, once more, this time with his intuition saving the day. Bill acknowledged his flaws, forging bonds with his boys. And Liam? He emerged changed, more appreciative, less indecisive, and completely committed to Hope. Their rescheduled wedding was small, with only family in the hospital grounds and Liam in a wheelchair but grinning. Vows were finally exchanged, and kisses were shared under a clear sky. The stunning discovery during their original nuptials nearly destroyed their future, but it ultimately strengthened their love. Life in Los Angeles continued on. Dramas at Forrester Creations, simmering rivalries. But for Liam and Hope, this chapter ended with newfound hope, a testament to overcoming adversity. However, in the world of the brave and beautiful, serenity was always brief. Whispers of new threats persisted, old flames, family secrets, but for the time being, they cherished their win. Liam's breakdown had been terrible, Finn's discovery sad, but they had once again turned tragedy into triumph. Liam stood before the altar, his hands tightly gripped in front of him. He looked good in his fitted suit, but there was tension beneath his collected demeanor. His mouth was set, his shoulders tight, as if he were bracing himself against an unseen force. He assured himself it was only nerves. Weddings did this to people. He'd been through enough turbulence in his life to understand that happiness was frequently strange, even fragile. Finn stood a few paces back, eyeing him with a serious gaze. Finn had learned as a doctor to read people's subtle signs, the faint pallor of their skin, the tightness around their eyes, the way they changed their equilibrium without realizing it. Liam did not appear to be an overly emotional groom. There was something more that made Finn uncomfortable. Nonetheless, he said nothing. This was Liam's day, and the last thing he wanted was to cast a pall over the ceremony with unnecessary anxiety. The music began, delicate and calm, and everyone stood to their feet. The bride emerged at the end of the aisle, radiant and smiling, her gaze fixed on Liam as if the world around him no longer existed. Liam's tension subsided for a little moment. His lips curled into a smile, and his eyes welled with emotion. This was it, he thought. This was the time everything would be fine. As she approached him, Liam felt a sudden surge of dizziness. It was an unexpected, harsh, disorienting sensation that caused the room to tilt. He blinked, attempting to clear his vision. The hues of the stained glass blended together, and the music appeared to fade into a distant echo. His heart pounded in his chest, each one louder than the last. He reminded himself to breathe. Just nerves. It's just stress. He had recently experienced weird headaches and moments of bewilderment, but he dismissed them. He did not want to think about physicians or hospitals, especially now. He straightened his stance and pushed his grin to remain steady as his wife approached the altar. The officiant began speaking, his voice calm and soothing. Words of love and unity echoed around the chapel, but Liam struggled to concentrate. His head throbbed with profound, unrelenting pain, making it difficult to concentrate. He shifted his weight slightly, hoping nobody would notice. Despite the chilly air, sweat prickled on his temples. Finn noticed. Finn squinted his eyes as he stood amid the groomsmen. Liam's face had turned pale, and his breathing was erratic. He understood the telltale indicators of someone going too far and neglecting symptoms that should never be overlooked. Finn took a little step forward while considering whether to interrupt. But before he could react, everything happened at once. Liam swayed. Initially, it was mild, nearly invisible. When his knees buckled, his body lurched forward. Gasps echoed throughout the chapel as Liam crumpled, landing on the floor with a terrible thud. His wife shrieked his name and dropped to her knees beside him, her veil gathering around her like fallen petals. Chaos erupted. Guests hurried forward, their voices overlapping in terror and uncertainty. The officiant froze, his book slipping out of his grasp. Finn was already moving, his medical instincts taking over. He knelt alongside Liam and checked his pulse, breathing, and responsiveness. "Can Liam hear me?" Finn replied firmly, putting his hand on Liam's shoulder. Liam sighed softly, but did not open his eyes. His breathing was shallow and irregular. Finn experienced a jolt of dread. This was not a straightforward fainting spell. "Someone call an ambulance," Finn yelled, his voice cutting through the din now. The bride gripped Liam's hand, tears flowing down her cheeks. "What's happened to him? Finn, what's wrong?" Finn did not respond right away. He wasn't sure yet, and speculating would only make it worse. He concentrated on keeping Liam stable, examining his pupils and monitoring his vital signs as best he could without equipment. The sirens were already audible in the distance, but each second felt like a lifetime. As they waited, Finn's thoughts raced. Liam had complained about headaches, he remembered. Moments of dizziness and mood swings. At the time, Liam dismissed it as stress and a lack of sleep. Finn had encouraged him to be checked out, but Liam always made an excuse. When Finn saw him lying unconscious on the chapel floor, he felt a big knot grow in his chest. The paramedics arrived quickly, creating a sense of urgency and order. They carefully transferred Liam to a stretcher, installing sensors and providing oxygen. The bride insisted on riding with him, and her hand never left his as they wheeled him out of the chapel. The wedding guests stood in stunned silence, their delight replaced by anxiety and doubt. At the hospital, time became a blur of nervous hours. Blood tests, scans, and neurological examinations were all requested. Finn remained close, using his position as both family and doctor to be informed. He watched the monitors, listened to the doctor's conversations, and felt his anxiety build with each passing minute. Finn was escorted into a separate room after receiving the findings of the brain scan. The neurologist's expression was serious, professional, and not unpleasant. "There's a mass," the doctor stated, cautiously bringing up the images. "A tumor." The words struck Finn like a physical blow. "A tumor?" Finn repeated, his voice barely audible. "Yes," the neurologist replied. "It looks to be in a location that could explain his symptoms, which include headaches, dizziness, and disorientation. We need to do additional tests to see if it's benign or malignant, but it's quite large." Finn stared at the image, his medical background clashing strongly with his personal fear. He understood what he was looking at and the ramifications, but it didn't make it any easier to accept. Liam wasn't simply a patient. He was a family member. He was a man who had collapsed on what should have been one of his happiest days. "How soon are you able to operate?" Finn inquired. "That depends," the neurologist responded. "We have to examine the hazards. The location complicates surgery. There's also the question of whether rapid intervention is the best course of action, or if we should start with other treatments." Finn nodded slowly, taking in the facts. He understood the jargon, the careful wording doctors used when the outcome was uncertain. It left little space for hope, but it also did not completely eliminate it. When Finn eventually went to see Liam, he discovered him awake but sleepy, his eyes heavy and unfocused. The bride sat alongside the bed, her face filled with worry, her bridal gown tattered and ruined from the trauma. She looked up as Finn walked in, seeking his face for answers. "Finn," she said gently, "please tell us what's going on." Liam strained to sit up, wincing. "I'm fine," he said softly. Finn took a long breath. I don't know what happened." This was the most difficult thing for him, not the diagnosis itself, but telling someone you cared about that their life was about to change in ways they couldn't have predicted. "You're not fine," Finn remarked softly, drawing up a chair. "And I won't sugarcoat this. The doctors discovered a tumor in your brain." The room was silent. Liam glanced at Finn, taking the words in slowly. "A tumor?" he repeated, disbelief etched on his features. "Yes," Finn answered. "We do not know everything yet. There are more tests to run, and we need to determine the best treatment approach. But this explains what has been happening to you." The bride covered her mouth, tears streaming down. "Is he about to die?" she asked, her voice shaking. Finn reached out and placed a comforting hand on hers. "We don't know that," he admitted honestly. What we do know is that the situation is critical, but not hopeless. Medicine has come a long way. We're going to do everything we can. Liam slumped back against the pillows, his thoughts racing. A brain tumor. The words rang through his head, drowning out everything else. He remembered the wedding, the vows he hadn't gotten to say, and the future he had imagined just hours before. It all felt suddenly brittle, like glass that may break at any time. I didn't want this, he said gently. The bride gripped his hand. I just wanted one normal day. We'll get through this, she murmured, her voice shaking. Together. Finn watched them, feeling both admiration and grief. He knew the path ahead would be long and arduous, with tough decisions and sad moments. There will be treatments that took their toll, days when optimism seemed elusive, and nights when fear came in unexpectedly. But there would also be strength, love, and tenacity, which no scan could quantify. As Finn left the room, he returned his gaze to Liam, who was resting in a hospital bed rather than standing at an altar. Life, he believed, has a terrible habit of rewriting plans. However, it had the ability to illuminate what was genuinely important. The wedding had been called off, and the party was postponed indefinitely. Instead, a commitment of endurance, honesty, and unwavering support was made. Whatever was ahead, they would confront it together, equipped with knowledge and hope, even in the face of a startling diagnosis.